As states unwind from Medicaid's continuous enrollment provision, more people are being disenrolled from the program. 25 states and DC have reported disenrolling more than 1.5 million Medicaid recipients, and Kaiser Family Foundation reports that as many as 24 million people could lose Medicaid coverage in the end. And what do you need to know if you've been disenrolled or expect to be disenrolled? Well, here to talk to me about that is Jae Oh, author of Maximize Your Medicare. Jay, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
It's a pleasure, and it's a complicated topic. Where to begin?
The end of the public health emergency brought an end to the pause. So Medicaid redetermination is a fact of life. That is a normal course of life. But that was all put on hold as a result of COVID-19. The issue is that has now re-begun. Every state has the right to redetermine your Medicaid eligibility. Now, the estimates that you talked about, to be candid with you, looked low to me because since COVID has ended, in air quotes ended, many people have returned to work. So a couple of very important things I think that for your audience to take away. First of all is that if you receive one of these letters, this is a serious matter. This is not just a piece of normal junk mail. The number of questions you'll be asked about your financial resources is extensive. I've seen these letters. 10 pages, it can certainly be. If you are disenrolled, meaning that you are found to be not eligible, you'll be told. And you'll be told, but that does open a life qualifying event under the Affordable Care Act, where you can apply for individual health insurance as long as it's within 60 days of the date that your Medicaid ends. So there are quoting tools. My firm has a quoting tool, for example, which would allow you to estimate how much health insurance could be and how much it would be, and then all of the different plan selections at those particular different price points. Now, that is something that you and I have discussed, Bob, which is, this is a tax-related matter, meaning that your income, your taxable income, will affect the health insurance premium as well as possibly deductibles, out-of-pocket maximums. So once you get this letter, it is your catalyst either to be redetermined and ultimately if you are found to be disqualified. Important stuff.
You mentioned that there may be some people who were on Medicaid but then returned to work. What about them? What do they need to know?
Yeah, it's one of these nuances of the Affordable Care Act. So what ends up happening is that you can get lower health insurance premium based on household size, your location, age, and of course your income. Now the reality is, however, you cannot be offered health insurance through your employer and simultaneously receive the health insurance tax credit. So, for example, you cannot sit there and cancel or deny or not accept your employer-sponsored plan under the idea, well, I have health insurance through the Affordable Care Act at $0 a month. That is a combination that doesn't work. There are exceptions. That said, you actually need to go through the exceptions and be able to tell the Affordable Care Act, tell the CMS that I'm still allowed to have the tax credit because I qualify for an exception. Needless to say, exceptions have lots of conditions and stipulations. Very, very difficult to navigate by themselves as an everyday person.
Right. And then in terms of where people can go, steps that they can take, any thoughts about them contacting their state's Medicaid agency to find out why they were disenrolled and what other steps can they take?
Certainly, Medicaid is administered ultimately by every state on a state by state basis. So therefore, you're going to have a state-specific Department of Health and Human Services, for example, which will be the party, the body that determines your Medicaid eligibility. And there can be errors. There can be errors as in any administrative matter, in which case you'll want to reach back out to them in order to discuss. You'll be assigned a caseworker who will be monitoring kind of the gathering of the information that you submit. Even then, there can be human error involved in making that determination.
Then, in terms of resources, you mentioned your website, Maximize Your Medicare. I take it as where we should be sending folks.
Actually, for non-Medicare people, it's gh2benefits.com. And there's a place where you can put in your age, your family size, your zip code, and then get a free estimate about what ballpark. That way you understand the context of how much health insurance would be. That said, and while people can use the portal to enroll, you also have the option for us to talk with you and make sure that you know what you are actually selecting, something that I think is very, very vital.
Yeah. So thanks to the wonders of artificial intelligence, I found a couple other resources there, sort of well known to you and to others: Medicaid.gov, Healthcare.gov, the Kaiser Family Foundation, which we mentioned at the start of this video. But there was one I was unfamiliar with, which is the National Health Law Program. Any thoughts about that as a resource?
Certainly, any piece of information, especially because they may be documenting the exceptions and how the exceptions work. That the Affordable Care Act does have nuances because it's a misunderstanding of the fact that the tax credit, the APTC, the lower premium, the pathway, the mechanism is actually a tax credit. So that has lots of implications. Not being a tax attorney, I am not. So as a result, the point is the implications, the ramifications are far more far-reaching than simply does my doctor accept my silver plan. More nuanced. So the more information in general, better.
It's so interesting. We're looking at a world in which 1.5 have been disenrolled, another 24 million or 23.5, 22.5 million are going to. It sounds like we're in for a quagmire here over the next coming year or so.
Yes, well, the individual states have tried to accommodate. So depending on the state, they may have slightly different rules, but the ultimate conclusion of our conversation, yes, that is going to be the case.
All right, Jay, as always, unless there's something we missed, it's a pleasure to have you here sharing your knowledge and wisdom with our viewers.
I think that's enough for today, Bob, on this topic. Thank you for having me.